The cocoon, not the cocaine. That's something else entirely. Johanna still in the cocoon by the time she...
What's up, guys? It's King Andrew here with another Nexus Gaming Series cast. Tonight, we've got the Heroic Division. We've got Rodney's Imaginary Friends versus Durotan's Couch. We're starting a little bit early here. Already talked to one of the team members, went through the map picks and bans. Well, actually, technically, we went through the bans. We didn't actually have a pick yet. I'll be finding that out sometime soon, but you know what? Gives me some time because I've got some stuff I want to talk about these two teams. So, let's talk about our teams tonight. Rodney's Imaginary Friends and Durotan's Couch. Certainly some interesting things to say about these teams. I have a bit of a connection with both of these teams. On Rodney's Imaginary Friends, the tank player on that team is a former teammate of mine, so there definitely is some bias in that regard because he is absolutely Sparklark, the tank player on Rodney's Imaginary Friends. One of my favorite teammates. Gotta root for him. Awesome stand-up guy. Also someone who's genuinely interested in actually improving at the game. I think there are a lot of people who, you know, say they want to get better at the game, but this is a guy who really believes it and really lives by it. He used to play in Div D, then Div B, then A, then Nexus, and now finally Heroic. Amazing journey for him. Would love to talk to him if he does end up, you know, winning the match, but we'll have to see because he's got a tough opponent ahead of him, potentially. Both of these teams, of course, are Heroic teams, so, you know, the highest level of Heroes of the Storm play available in North America. However, they're definitely struggling a little bit this season. Rodney's Imaginary Friends are a returning Heroic team, but right now, the win is just eluding them. They are currently 0-6, and we are in week 7. They have taken a couple maps. They're at 2-12. So it's their second season in Heroic, at least as far as I know. I'm pretty sure. The first season definitely went a little bit better for them. They definitely weren't a top team. I think they were 6th in the standings by the end of the season. So there's still time for them to, you know, have a little bit of an upswing, get a few wins. And if anything, this week and this match probably is one of the best chances that Rodney's Imaginary Friends is going to have to get a win because their opponent is Durotan's Couch. Now, Durotan's Couch is kind of a legendary team in NGS. They are one of the most storied teams in NGS. They are, or were, the Season 2 Div C champs, the Season 13 Div B champs, the Season 15 Div A champs, and the Season 16 Nexus Division champions. So this is a team with a lot of history. They've conquered the 3 divisions under Heroic, but they definitely are kind of reaching their limits with the Heroic division. I don't know if they're going to conquer this division this season. They could come back strong in another one. For now, they just kind of got to overcome the opponent that's in front of them, which is Rodney's Imaginary Friends. And although currently Durotan's Couch is looking stronger statistically, they aren't looking strong overall within the context of Heroic division. I mean, it's a Shark Tank out here. You got big sharks, little sharks, baby sharks. Anyway, I don't even know how many people get that reference, and it's probably not a good one. But yeah, Durotan's Couch. I actually played in Nexus Division last season. I played against Durotan's Couch twice in that one season. Have a little bit of experience playing with them as well. See them a little bit as rivals, although definitely by the end of the season, they definitely made it less and less of a rivalry, if you kind of get what I'm saying here. But they were pretty clearly, in my opinion, the strongest team in Nexus Division, but Heroic Division is a completely different ball game. I know, you know, we might just see it as, oh yeah, these are the top 2 divisions, but in my opinion, there's actually a pretty big gap between Heroic Division and Nexus. I think that's kind of reflected kind of in the fact that basically Durotan's Couch, what was the best Nexus Division team last season, kind of struggling in Heroic Division, and they do deserve to be here. They conquered Nexus Division, so now they're here in Heroic, but it is a different level of play. I've got a little bit of my own experience with that as well. I played in Nexus Division last season, did have a couple occasions to scrim some Heroic teams last season, and they were Heroic teams that were kind of on the lower end. One of them actually was Rodney's imaginary friends, and it was not easy playing as a Nexus division team against heroic teams. But it's not about Nexus this season. Durotan's not in Nexus anymore. They're in heroic. We've got heroic teams right here. And yeah, so let's also take a look at the standings for heroic division in general, so we can kind of see how that's shaping up. As we can see here, some of these things shaped up kind of how I expected. I did kind of call early on in the season that I felt that the top 3 teams were going to be Mommy's Little Gamers, the Don Juan Special, and Cowboy Wannabes. A lot of very well-known and experienced players there who had experience playing in things like Storm Division, CCL even. Mommy's Little Gamers in particular are the reigning heroic division champions, and currently it looks like they are defending that. Of course, you know, the regular season is nice and all, but it will ultimately come down to, can they defend it when it counts in playoffs? But of course, you know, now I'm talking about teams that are not the teams that are playing tonight. As we take a look, some things here did come as a little bit of a surprise to me, particularly Wrong is Never Wrong. Right now up there in the 5th place spot with a 4-2 record was a big surprise to me, because that is a team where everyone on that team are first-timers when it comes to the heroic division. So big surprise for me. And then we've got a lot of teams that are also just regulars in heroic divisions. Big Push Power, Caffeinated Knights, things like that. Negotiators, kind of an offshoot of Caffeinated Knights in the sense that one whole player from Caffeinated Knights kind of left Caffeinated Knights and then created his own team with other players. But it's really about these 2 teams. Highlighted right there, Durotan's Couch and Rodney's Imaginary Friends. As I said, right now, both teams struggling a bit, but there is a chance that Rodney's Imaginary Friends will pull out their first win tonight. Again, this is, if there's any week where they can make it happen, this is one of them. Of course, Heavy Hitters there also kind of struggling, so I'm not sure. Durotan's Couch already played Heavy Hitters, so that is their one win. Rodney's Imaginary Friends, well, obviously, Rodney's and Heavy Hitters have not played against each other, because if they did, one of them would have a win just by process of elimination. So yeah, that's a lot of what I got to say. We are going to also take a look at the map so you know where we're going. Some of this was actually not completed, which reminds me that I need to update it. But we do have the bans that were coming in. Rodney's Imaginary Friends banning out Cursed Hollow, as well as Dragonshire. Dragonshire, I think, is a particularly important ban. I think that is a ban that is a map that is favored by Durotan's Couch. Yonners, a Tracer player on Durotan's Couch, I think favors that map and is pretty strong on it. Meanwhile, Durotan's Couch banned out Sky Temple and Volskaya Foundry. And for our first map, now of course, normally this should be the second map or even the third map. Our first map of the series is actually going to be Towers of Doom. Towers of Doom picked by the Couch. And that's where we're going to go. Of course, epic map that people love to play. And what's up, guys? I'm back here. I'm just about, you know, it's funny. A lot of times I have like this whole pre-show planned out where I basically look up the history of the teams, the records of the teams, try to put together some kind of a storyline. Sadly, what often happens is I usually don't get to go through it all because teams just want to start. They just want to play games. This night, I got to go through it all, and now I'm out of material, and still actually waiting for this game to start, because Rodney's Imaginary Friends currently waiting on a 5th player. So, and I'm taking a look at kind of what's going on. It would be really, really sad if a team had to forfeit here, and this potential showdown didn't happen, but it does look like we have one person with computer issues, another person who's just kind of missing in action. So, yeah, we're running out of things to say here. How's everybody doing in chat? Who is here? I see you. I see you. I see you, Wizard Beast. Thank you for saying hi. I appreciate it. And I see some other people lurking in the chat that haven't said anything yet, like Northern Touch. Good to see you guys. Well, what do we talk about now? I don't know. So season kind of has a way of just passing by. It's week 7, if you didn't already know. Week 7. I think the last time I cast a match was in week 2. Just things kind of passed me by. I might look at casting some games next week, but yeah. I've been really favoring some of the Nexus and Heroic Division matches this season. They're a lot of fun. Oh, we're missing... I see who we're missing now. We're actually missing Snarfungus, of course. Important member of the team, Snarfungus. I think she is the one who is having computer issues. So they're trying to get their sub, the legendary Mundaniel Zebra, to sub in, I think. But he's also the one who is kind of missing. I've heard many stories about Mundane Zebra. Have some friends who are former teammates of him. Story is that Mundane Zebra knows his stuff. Sometimes a bit of an interesting personality to work with, though. And yeah, so actually, there are things to talk about. Let's talk about the players on these teams, because I've already talked a little bit about some of the players, but luckily, since I actually have experience playing, in fact, I've played, in my NGS career, I've played Durotan's Couch 4 times. Lucky, very fortunate that they let me beat them once. So I appreciate that, but I played against them 4 times, know a little bit about them. 2 of those times were last season. And of course, one of the key players on Durotan's Couch is Yanners. If you've played in Nexus Division, probably if you've played in some other divisions that he's been in the past, you might know Yanners. Notorious Tracer enjoyer, and at some point along the way, he also added Genji into the mix. Of course, heroes that everybody loves. And definitely in probably Div A, also in Nexus, he was the subject of many target bans. Both of those heroes would be frequently banned out against him. He's just kind of notorious for those heroes and, quite good at them. Had to be at least one of the best players on those heroes, if not, the best players on those heroes. A bit of a debate with Mockery also being in Nexus Division in that last season. Mockery certainly also a known Tracer enjoyer. But Yanners often gets those heroes banned out against him. That's where the target banning often happens against Durotan's Couch. I'm not 100% sure we're going to see that tonight, or if that's I also haven't been keeping up with how things have been going in Heroic Division, and if that has also been how things have been working out in Heroic. Because, in Heroic, I imagine there plenty of teams play Tracer and Genji. And teams might have people who play Tracer and Genji just as well as Yanners. For some, perhaps some even better, especially, if they were like CCL players. And even if they don't necessarily want to play those heroes, they might also just be confident that they can deal with them. Whereas even in Nexus Division, where most Nexus Division teams do have Tracer and Genji players, those 2 heroes were nevertheless frequently banned out against Yanners. Because even if other teams could play them, they maybe were not as confident or did not prefer them as much as Yanners, so they just kind of didn't want to deal with them, just wanted to take them off the board. Now that being said, last season, when it came down to the Nexus Division finals between Durotan's Couch and Bob, a team that has now been renamed as Heroically Challenged and is also in Heroic Division, the ban strategy halfway through that series actually shifted away from target banning Yanners. And instead of target banning Yanners, they started target banning I Just Fizzed, the tank player for Durotan's Couch. And I Just Fizzed is a very solid tank player. He has a strong preference for Diablo, which is very important if you want to play in higher divisions, and is also really just a strong asset to have no matter what division you play in. If he doesn't get the Diablo, usually end up playing Johanna. After that, though, if he doesn't get one of those 2 heroes, he tends to kind of go down the rabbit hole of atypical tank picks. He will play things like Mal'Ganis, Tyrael. He'll play Deathwing even, and sometimes those things, I'd say there's probably, hard to call it mixed success with them being so dominant in the last season, but it was kind of mixed success in the finals when they actually did drop 2 maps, and I think that target banning may have been a part of it. So, luckily, I found some things to talk about. I also have some good news, or not, depending on how you perceive it. But we have located Mundane Zebra, and by we, I don't mean me at all. I'm not part of this collective we in any sense. So I don't know why I said that. Rodney's imaginary friends have located Mundane Zebra. They say he's coming. Technically, they might be over the 10 minutes of the start time or whatever. Like I don't know the rules that well. I believe it is like a 10-minute period where if it doesn't start. Although I don't know if Durotan's Couch actually started the timer. And you know what? They might also just be homies. They might just be like, we want to play the game. We're not trying to get the the forfeit wins. Those are boring. But with any luck, Mundane Zebra gonna come in, and we have them. We have a Mundane Zebra. We've got 5 people in the lobby, so we actually are starting any second now. Maybe I could be lying about that one. That could be fake news. So I'm gonna do a quick adjustment on some filters. Let's lower my gain down by 1, just because I'm gonna be peaking a bit, even with the limiter on. All right, they have asked me if I'm ready. I let them know, so with any luck, we might actually be going into this any second now. It's been a journey just from starting the stream up until now, and we're here. Thank God. That's what I need. We're in our draft. Uh-oh, that shouldn't have been left there. That was a little bit of a spoiler. Anyway, so yeah, it will be interesting to see what the banning does look like against Durotan's Couch. And especially because, on the side of Rodney's imaginary friends, Rodney is definitely a Genji player. Mundane Zebra probably plays Genji. So I don't think they'll take the Genji away from Yanners. Instead, they're going to take away the Vala. Yanners has played Vala in the past, not something that I think he plays a lot. Of course, Vala just a very strong hero. Anubrak going to be banned out by Durotan's Couch. I'm already mixing up the names of the team. We've barely got into this, and I can barely even talk. It's a shame. What's our second ban going to be? I think the Tracer's going to be left up. I think there's a remote chance that it does get banned here, but I think it's just going to be left up. And I think Rodney's imaginary friends, as a heroic team, is willing to just deal with Yanners' Tracer if it comes down to it. So, Tracer is let through. No guarantee that we necessarily see it, but Yanners definitely does have a very, very strong preference for it. And, part of the reason why Tracer, when someone can play Tracer, it'll often get banned out, especially if you go down to like Div A, B, and C. If someone has a Tracer, it might get banned out. A lot of what the problem is with Tracer is kind of knowledge gaps that Tracer players can exploit for people who don't, fully know how to deal with Tracer, know which heroes are strong into Tracer, know how to position against Tracer, and also just have the discipline to kind of not be caught out where you might just get farmed by the Tracer. But anyway, we are going to have Asmachad pick up the Blaze. So typically the way I do expect the drafts to work out in higher divisions is for there to be a focus on healers and offlaners in the first half of the draft before the secondary ban phase. So Blaze picked up by Asmachad. Importantly, this does mean that Hogger is still up, and that is not a balanced hero. I just fizzed, not actually going with his trademark Diablo, and instead going to prefer the Johanna, which is totally fine. It's a perfectly fine hero. I do personally think that Diablo is better, and there is Rodney going with the Genji, so that won't be available to Yanners, but once again, oh, okay, actually, that's a really strong 2-3. Just realizing it here that it's not just Genji, but that it is Anduin and Genji. And this is something that is in the higher divisions, in Nexus and Heroic. Not sure to what extent it's true in Div A. But the combo of Genji and Anduin does have very high priority. And of course, you could pick this in any division, but there definitely have been, when I've seen it in lower divisions, there just sometimes have been issues with executing it. Sometimes it just straight up goes unused, even if those two heroes are present. And in the higher divisions, it is just something considered extremely powerful where, like if Tracer is banned out, so Yanners will not have access to that. Sometimes, for example, if you see Genji or Anduin picked in the first half of the draft, you'll see the other one banned out in the secondary ban phase just to specifically deny that combo. Okay, so Yonner's hero is going to remain a mystery, but we do have the Hogger going through. Incredibly strong hero. Wildcard going to be picking that up. So it is kind of interesting to me that, you know, Asmochad did not choose to play the Hogger himself. I don't know much about what the preferences are for these players, aside from, well, I guess Yonner's and I Just Fizzed, who I talked at quite a bit at length at what their preferences are. Anyway, the Hanzo going to be picked up by Mundane Zebra, and Sparklark is going to be on the Muradin to kind of close out the draft for Rodney's Imaginary Friends. What will the final pick be for Yonner's? He likes to play Jaina. I don't feel that it is that great with what the rest of their draft, so it's going to be something else, and it's going to be the Kerrigan. That is also very much a signature pick for Yonner's. So it's not actually that surprising at all to see it. All right, that's going to be our draft for game number 1 of this series, the Heroic Division, Rodney's Imaginary Friends versus Durotan's Couch. I'll see you in game. Here we are, game number 1 between Rodney's Imaginary Friends and Durotan's Couch. It's going to be Drinko on the Anduin. Rodney is going to be playing as Genji, also rocking the Gen G mount. RIP HGC, too soon. Mundane Zebra will be on the Hanzo, still deciding also on his level 1 talent. Sparklark on the Muradin, and Asmochad on the Blade. Their opponents, Durotan's Couch, I Just Fizzed on the Johanna. Wildcard playing as Hogger. Idioms on the Junkrat. Yonner's going to be the Kerrigan this game, and Goliath playing as Rhaegar. So taking a look at our level 1 talents to see if there is anything particularly interesting. The one that definitely strikes me as the most interesting is the Q build on the Hanzo. It is just something where I feel like the Q build Hanzo is typically considered the worst build for him. And it's also something that I feel that the higher you go up in level of play, I feel like it's also less common. But it's still Hanzo. I think it's still perfectly acceptable. One of the concerns that I have about... One of the big concerns that I have about Hanzo, particularly playing with Q build, is that this quest is definitely the hardest of the 3 level 1 quests for Hanzo to complete. Particularly because offlaners can kind of gatekeep Hanzo out of finishing that quest for a fairly long time. Whereas both of the other quests can be completed in definitely much relatively shorter periods of time. Genji, of course, making his way to mid lane, harassing the Hogger a little bit at times, as both teams are going to start picking up their camp. The Sappers soon going to be running down the lanes. Camp going to be picked up by Durotan's Couch first. Do they make it over here in time for an invade? No, they do not. Sparklark going to jump in, though. They're going to go for something. Asmochad goes completely wide on the jet propulsion, but Idioms is already down. So first kill of the game going in favor of Rodney's Imaginary Friends. They're going to look for a second. They'll find Wildcard on the Hogger, which is pretty bad. They're going to have to make up the soak in some way. Asmochad, of course, is still alive, so he will just be returning to the lanes and continuing to get the soak for his team. Yonner is trying to make up that soak by going to mid lane, so it is only 3 for Durotan's Couch in the bot lane. The Junkrat trying to provide as much clear as he can, even using the concussion mine to try to knock away the Sapper, but ultimately all 3 Sappers go in, and one of those towers is already nearly dead. Idiom's looking to put a little damage into Mundane Zebra, who seems kind of left behind here. Also pretty low on mana. Lucky for Mundane Zebra, though, he does have... Well, this is also a tough quest to read. What does 1 out of 5 really mean? I think what that means for Q build is I think that there is one hero that he has all 3, that he has gotten all 3 stacks on. And I think it also is possible that if I click on the hero, I might be able to see that information. But that also opens up a whole new can of worms that I'm not sure if I want to deal with. Okay, Wildcard just positioning up by the tower on his side, while Asmachad doing the same. So it's just going to be a fight over the bottom one. Meanwhile, Rodney just trying his best to get away from that trap. Could have spelled doom for him. Goliath also looking pretty low. Sparklark by himself here, while Yanners looks to harass Mundane Zebra. No kills just yet, as both teams are jockeying for position. Goliath attempting the channel, but extremely hard to do against a Hanzo. Now, one of the benefits of this Q-Build Hanzo, we're not talking about Q-Build Hanzo while Rodney is dying here. Things are happening. It's in the middle of a team fight. It's not the time for analysis. So Rodney goes down, and, you know, Mundane Zebra really making me eat my words here. I feel that's an incredibly quick completion for target practice, finishing it at 3 minutes and 48 seconds. But it could also just be that, you know, he knows what he's doing, and he's good on the hero, and he's just able to find those 3 hits on Wildcard, as well as the rest of the team. So what I was trying to say, I was trying to talk about one of the potential benefits of the Q-Build Hanzo compared to the other builds. I would say the Q-Build Hanzo is better at stalling because you get that extra range on Q. And of course you can already stall with Scatter Arrow as well as Sonic Arrow, but the extra range on the Q gives him basically a third ability that he can use to stall. Anyway, big fight going down as Idioms gets a lightning shield. Not really the ideal hero for it, but I think Idioms, can he get out of here alive? No, he cannot. Goes down from a couple shurikens from Genji, but Genji himself gonna eat a stun from Kerrigan and will also go down as well. So it's a 1-for-1 trade. Asmachad getting stunned, and still, most importantly, nobody has taken this bottom shrine. Sparklark going to start channeling it. More than halfway there, Goliath is going to bite in. Definitely one of the things about Rhaegar players that I'm always very cautious about. I feel that Rhaegar is a fantastic hero. He is incredibly safe, but something about him just baits people into inting because they want to press the Z button and then attack someone, and then usually they will die in the process. Not always, as we saw Goliath there, didn't. I just Fizz trying to buy some time for his team, but Sparklark jumps in. He is knocked away by the concussion mine, so he is not able to get the steal on that camp. I just Fizz, though, having trouble staying alive, but his team manages to buy him space and peel for him. And look at how long this initial objective phase is going. Neither team able to get the full channel. Yanners, meanwhile, in a huge amount of trouble. I think he goes down here. Yep. Definitely one of the issues with Kerrigan. She is not a hero who has really great escape options. She's kind of committed once she goes in. We even did see a little bit of creative escapes from Yanners there, able to use Ravage to get away from something very temporarily, but it ultimately wasn't enough. And finally, we're going to see that tower with the whole first objective phase finished, this time going in favor of Rodney's imaginary friends. They will take a brief lead in this game, but we are on Towers of Doom, and the teams are looking pretty even experience-wise, and it has been pretty back and forth. Although kills definitely pretty strongly in favor of Rodney's imaginary friends at the moment. Wildcard just barely getting out of there by the skin of his teeth, or maybe it's by the fur of his teeth on a gnoll. Do gnolls have fur? I don't know. I don't know much about World of Warcraft. But Mundane Zebra here, completely gonna pick up a globe to do just a little bit more. As we see level 10's also coming in for Rodney's imaginary friends. Everything here looks very much as expected, and the important combo, of course, to look out is the Light Bomb with the Genji. Gonna be also followed up by the X-Strike. The X-Strike actually kind of a secondary way to deliver the Light Bomb. Oh, and Hogger going down. Big rotation there by Rodney and Sparklark. Sadly, not gonna be caught on camera. Definitely important part of how this map is played in the higher divisions and why heroes like Genji are so prevalent. Dragon Arrow goes out, unfortunately goes completely wide, sailing all the way to Finland. Meanwhile, look, we kind of got fights going on in different places. Rodney getting stunned, does use the X-Strike.
Bunker's going to go down, provide a lot of safety to his team. Asmachad gets back in, and Idioms is just about able to get the Ancestral Healing and then concussion mine him out. I was going to say no kills happening, but it's Mundane Zebra going down to the Kerrigan. At a bit of an opportune time, does make it a lot more likely that Durotan's Couch are able to pick up at least one of these towers, if not both of them. But currently, Rodney's imaginary friends still stepping up, still stepping in here. There's no way Wildcard gets this, but he does kind of want to force some response out of them. Meanwhile, Idioms, Rodney now kind of in trouble, so Idioms will get the channel on the bottom altar. And I think Rodney's imaginary friends, they do have a chance to fight this, and just in time, Asmachad is able to get the interrupt to prevent Wildcard from completing the channel. Stun goes out onto Yanners. He's super low. He does not have Chrysalis, so that is one dead Kerrigan. Wildcard able to hog wild out, or is he? Nope. People getting knocked all over the place. Shockwave gets interrupted, but Rodney a little bit too deep, and he does go down as well. Still, kills favoring Rodney's imaginary friends, as they will get the invade on the camp against Durotan's Couch. Okay, meanwhile, Mundane Zebra stepping up super close. He was practically in front of Johanna. Maybe not even practically. Might have just been literally. Taking some damage, forces out the desperate prayer from Drinko, who's scared for Mundane Zebra's life. Meanwhile, Yanners trying to make something happen against Asmachad, but Asmachad does dodge the stun combo. And here's Mundane Zebra, all by himself, just asking to get killed. But no Bless Shield available for Aegis Fizz, so not going to happen. No real great engage opportunity. Meanwhile, Sparklark looking for Yanners, but much of the members of Durotan's Couch are here. Yanners, though, once again going down. That Kerrigan proving to be a little bit of a liability. Not saying that to roast the player, but more talking about how it's just so tough with the Kerrigan not having an easy way out, that if she gets caught, she really is just caught. Kind of just has to hope her team's going to be there, use Chrysalis, hope that's going to be enough, but she doesn't have an easy way out the way something like the Genji does. Level 10's also picked up quite a while ago by Durotan's Couch, and everything really looking as expected. Both teams having a lot of pretty big wombo potential, with Rodney's imaginary friends having the Dragon Arrow with the Light Bomb, whereas Durotan's Couch finding themselves in this fight yet again, and Yanners, I wonder at this point if he did kind of get, you know, a little bit targeted in draft in spite of everything that I said before. The Genji was stolen away from him and the Tracer ultimately was banned. Or maybe I know absolutely nothing, and maybe they wanted the Kerrigan all along. But it does feel like the Kerrigan is struggling a little bit. Let's take a look at some stats. 3 deaths for Genji, 3 deaths for 3 members of Durotan's Couch, including the Kerrigan. Oh, there it is, and does manage to get it. And that's just easy execution, beautifully done. Actually using multiple movement abilities to make that happen. But Rodney now rooted in the bush and can sadly only watch the remaining members of his team get killed. And by remaining members, I mean Hanzo, played by Mundane Zebra. Doesn't matter though, as it is definitely a huge trade in favor of Rodney's imaginary friends. So far, they made it 3 kills, and I think they do also pick up the kill on Aegis Fizz here. And very quickly, this game that was looking even for a while might start spiraling out of control. I mean, as it is 14-5 in kills. I feel like this isn't this a free tower? I don't know. Rodney moving back. Take a look back at the talents. I mean, we do have Shuriken Mastery has been completed, and there was Shingon. I felt like they could have stayed and potentially taken this, but they did have other priorities. Rodney really badly wanted mana. So instead, they haven't gotten much damage on this bottom fort at all. And I still really have to question, if 4 of them had just walked at this, if they could have just taken that out. And I feel like that would have been a really, really big advantage for them. Instead, they really don't make too much out of that other than they get the level lead, so they are ahead in the race to 20. But I feel like in another world, Rodney's Imaginary Friends has control of this tower. Talk about control, though. Mundane Zebra with very little control over his not his camera, but his hero, his character. Members of Rodney's Imaginary Friends already pretty low. Sparklark still in here. I think Sparklark goes down, but the Dragon Arrow connects onto 4. Not enough to save Sparklark, I don't think, and indeed it's not. I think also a little bit of anti-synergy there, which I think there was a... I believe there was a light bomb that went out, and then I believe the light bomb target was pulled away. So that is a big swing in Durotan's couch favor. Is it really actually that big of a swing? Questioning my own words here. I feel like I don't even know what I'm talking about. It is a swing, but not a big one, at least not yet. It would be big if they do convert it into this tower acquisition, though. So half of that tower is going to be taken out, but here's the flank by Asmochad, and Kerrigan once again going down. I Just Fizz looking pretty low. No Ancestral for him. Iron Skin is already down, but enough healing comes through from Goliath to keep him alive. How are our offlaners doing? Going to take also a look at the... Just taking a look at a couple different things. The EXP, that's what I was looking for. So Asmochad definitely with more EXP than Wildcard. And kind of makes sense that they, with them being ahead in levels. Meanwhile, Sparklark going for something, but now they're kind of flanked. They're in here pretty deep. Wildcard comes in, does not quite find the stun that he wanted. But I think Drinko's going to go down, but it is a trade, healer for healer. But Wildcard goes down as well, so a 2-for-1 in favor of Rodney's Imaginary Friends, and the bunker preventing the Kerrigan from getting much else done. Should be a disengage for Rodney's Imaginary Friends. Mundane Zebra, oh my god, are you kidding me? You've got to be kidding me. Lay claim to the altars. I can't believe that just happened. What did he do? What was he cooking? Oh my god. Anyway, I guess he was buying time. Muradin got the tower away from... and they don't even get the interrupt on Rodney there. They tried going over there. Rodney is just about barely able to survive. Oh my god. This is tragic for Durotan's couch. They got the kill on Mundane Zebra, who just committed some completely illegal maneuvers. Rodney decides to go in. Gonna try to make something down here. Down a couple members, I think. Oh, it's a 3v3 actually at the moment. Can I count? I don't know if I can. Dragon Arrow's coming. I don't think this connects. Yeah, that one gonna be heading all the way to New Zealand as a Blaze jet propulsion comes in. I think they find the kill onto Wildcard here, and indeed they do. Kind of a bloodbath here. 20 kills for Rodney's Imaginary Friends to only 9. For I say only 9. In many other games that actually would be a pretty high number of kills. All right, so this time Rodney's Imaginary Friends will take the bottom tower, and that really just spiraled out of control real quick. So I need to recap here. Mundane Zebra walked into 3 members here and just died. He went in with something like 20% health, which is not much for a Hanzo. And then his team captured all 3 altars. Something is wrong here. Meanwhile, okay, Rodney's Imaginary Friends just trying to win the game here. Huge stuns. I think this is going to be the game in favor of Rodney's Imaginary Friends, and it will be their 3rd map win all season. Indeed it is. Just completely spiraled out of control at the end. And that is it. Wow. There's a part of me that feels like it's closer than some of those ending scores looked. I mean, the kills, as we'll see in a moment, 20-10 in favor of Rodney's Imaginary Friends. The shot count for the objective, or rather for the core, was 32 in the end to 0. 32 core points still maintained by Rodney's Imaginary Friends. And again, the play that absolutely blows my mind is Mundane Zebra walking in, dying, and then his team capturing all 3 altars. Meanwhile, did really feel like the Kerrigan kind of struggled in the end and was just kind of bullied. And yeah, I kind of wonder if that's something where he didn't get the Genji, didn't get the Tracer, and that's just it is a signature pick for Yanners, but it just felt like it really struggled in this particular game. So we're going to see what happens in Game 2, as we'll also take a look at our talents real quick, with really things here looking pretty textbook. Like, I feel like if anyone wrote a HOTS textbook, you would see a lot of the things here. There are definitely some variations based on some personal preference, but there's nothing, there really is, I really don't see anything here that looks particularly crazy. I think probably the one that looks most unusual to me is the stone form for the Muradin. I feel like, in general, especially at higher levels, the dwarf launch for the extended range and the improved engage for Muradin is heavily preferred. Funny thing is, I actually like this talent myself, but I mostly play Muradin ARAM these days. It is a lot of extra healing. Also, a little bit of a tech thing you can do is activate stone form after activating Avatar, because Avatar increases your maximum health and stone form heals you based on your maximum health. So a little bit of a tech tool if you do actually decide to use this talent. That is a bit of a lost art. I think there are very good reasons why Dwarf Launch is probably the more common talent, but I'm personally a believer in the stone form. Anyway, we are going to take a quick break while we get the next game set up. Don't go anywhere. I'll see you soon for game number 2. All right, what's up, guys? I'm back. We're already here pretty soon because I'm already in a lobby, so things are going to be moving along pretty quickly. We'll take a quick look at the map screen so I can show you what's going on in this series. Rodney's Imaginary Friends taking their 3rd map win for the entire season. They have been struggling, and yeah, that is their 3rd map win, as we do see the bans. It was Sky Temple and Volskaya Foundry banned out by Durotan's Couch, whereas Rodney's Imaginary Friends had banned out Cursed Hollow and Tomb of the Spider Queen. Durotan's Couch were actually the one with the Towers of Doom pick. Unfortunately, the map did not go in their favor, and for game number 2, we are going to be going to Garden of Terror. So, interesting to see Garden of Terror. Hey, you know what works on this map? Picking not just 1, not just 2, not just 3, but 4 bruisers. It's just like, oh, what happened? Just, oops, we have all bruisers. That would never work on this map. In fact, it is kind of Durotan's Couch Achilles heel. So, you know, I don't know if we'll actually see that. Also, what kind of degenerate would just pick all bruisers for their team? I would never do that. That's terrible. Make things interesting. Play Genji, play Tracer. Fun heroes. Anyway. It is Rodney's Imaginary Friends picking this 2nd map of the series. So Durotan's Couch this time electing for first pick. Maybe going to see if they can pick up the Tracer in the process. And although we're probably going to be going into the game pretty soon, but I'll recap a little bit of my pre-show for anyone who wasn't here at the start. So if we take a look at this, this is our matchup for tonight. You know, I imagine some of you probably not joining us until the game was a little bit underway. But basically here, we have two teams that are struggling a bit in Nexus Division this season. Just kidding, they're not in Nexus Division, they're in Heroic Division. And Rodney's Imaginary Friends are a returning Heroic team. They did play in Heroic last season, so they do have that experience of playing basically at this level. But it's just been a tough go for them this season. They're still 0-6 in series. They were 2-12 before this series had started, but they're now 3-12. Which unfortunately means their map record is still not as good as Durotan's Couch, but it will be good for them if they are able to close out the series. Durotan's Couch, on the other hand, as I said, storied team, the Season 2 Div C champs, the Season 2 Div C champs, the Season 13 Div B champs, Season 15 Div A champs, and the Season 16 Nexus Division champions. They're a storied roster. They've conquered many divisions, but Heroic is just something else entirely. It's a totally different level of play. They do have one win under their belt. Their one win was against heavy hitters, and this could be another opportunity for a win for them, but currently it is Rodney's Imaginary Friends that is one map away from winning their first series of the season. So we'll see if it happens, and let's get into our Garden of Terror draft. All right, so we'll see how bans shape up, this game. Of course, Hogger definitely going to be... Hogger, I think, is almost guaranteed to play some kind of role in this... on this map, no matter what, whether he's picked or banned. Obviously, the hero is just so strong that at higher levels, he's going to be highly prioritized. But taking camps is so important on this map that I think it's guaranteed that he plays some role. So, with the Blaze being banned... The Blaze being banned is interesting because obviously Asmochad played him last game. It makes me wonder if he wants the Hogger, but Rodney's Imaginary Friends do not have first pick. So if he's looking for the Hogger, he does kind of have to worry that Wildcard might just take it. No, he's just straight up going to ban the Hogger. That does leave two of the game's three best offlaners off the table. Dahaka is still up. I imagine there's a possibility we're going to see something like Leo. I wonder which one of these players, have a pocket Yrel. Yrel, I think, is kind of secretly or not so secretly the fourth best offlaner in the game. It's kind of just Yrel has such a learning curve with her awkward mechanics that even at higher levels, she tends to be pretty rare. And instead, it's going to be Junkrat, picked up first by Idiom. So I think with the areas where you have to fight on this map, I think the zone control that you get with traps is actually really outstanding. Especially when you get two of them, which I do think we'll see the double trap. I think there's just so much area that you can cover with those two traps that it does make it incredibly oppressive for the team that doesn't have Junkrat. Uther from Drinko. My God, that absolutely blows my mind. That I did not expect at all, and especially to see it like first pick, that they really felt that they need to take this now. It's apparently such an important part of their composition that they literally need to take it now, which is highly unexpected. Of course, it does, raise the question of, are we going to see Uther double heal? It is a thing. I'm a little concerned about it on this map because this map is, you need to be able to cover. You need to be able to take camps. You need to be able to cover a lot of macro. I don't think of it as the best map for double heal, but of course, when it comes down to the fights over the seeds, that is when a double heal comp would shine. And there's no guarantee that it's double heal. It could be. But it also could not. We could see double heal hypercarry Greymane. It is a thing. It does demand a specific build from Rodney to make that happen. We could see double heal with Uther as the main tank, which opens up more of the draft to pick like bruisers and DPS heroes so that you still have enough wave clear as well as camp clear. It could also just actually be Uther solo heal. That could actually be a thing. It is pretty rare these days, but if you're going to run Uther solo heal, Greymane is actually a viable hero to take in that kind of comp. He benefits from things like D-Shield. Uther and Greymane are also two heroes that can play fast, just trying to look for a quick kill and not extend the fight out too long. You use the CC from Uther, the high burst damage from Greymane, to just secure kills really fast before the enemy team can handle it. So, little bit of a tank choke with both the Johanna and the Anubrak taken out. Sparklark taking the Diablo. I'm a little surprised. I was wondering, it's a good choice on paper. I do think Sparklark he plays the Diablo. I'm not sure how he feels about it these days. Back when I used to play with him, it was definitely not his most comfortable hero, but he's also improved so much and gone on such a journey as a player that that may not be the same at all. He may actually be a Diablo god right now. Also takes it away from I Just Fizzed, who is a known Diablo enjoyer. I feel like Fizz is going to go for the Mal'Ganis here or something crazy. Or maybe he goes for some... What did I say? What did I say? So... This is kind of what happens. I mean, the tanks have actually kind of been choked out, but Muradin was still up. And we are going to see the hammer for Mundane Zebra. Did not expect that one. So definitely have some interesting drafts for this game number 2. All right, here it is. Rodney's Imaginary Friends leading in this series, looking to pick up their first series win for this season against Durotan's Couch. Sparklark on the Diablo. Asmochad going to be playing as Samuro. Rodney as the Greymane. Mundane Zebra on the Hammer. And Drinka will be playing as Uther. Their opponents, Durotan's Couch. Durotan's Couch down in this series. Yonner's on the Genji. Goliath playing as Rhaegar. I Just Fizzed on the Mal'Ganis. Wildcard as the Haka. And who did I forget? Did I forget Idioms on the Junkrat? I don't know. Maybe I did. Anyway, I am both shocked and not shocked to see the Mal'Ganis. It is a preferred hero for I Just Fizzed. I've played against his Mal'Ganis on this map, no less. So he might also think that it's pretty good on this map. I am honestly pretty concerned about the Mal'Ganis into something like the Hammer. I feel that Mal'Ganis kind of just gets burned down by the Hammer and never ever actually gets to touch the Hammer unless he has a really, really good bush flank. He's going to try right now to touch the Hammer. I'm not sure if Hammer will like being touched. I'm also not sure if I like this particular wording. Oh, but that's a great pull by Wildcard. But does it even matter? Mundane Zebra's literally right in front of the tower at full health. He's not even... Okay. Am I right? That was completely illegal. I don't know. Did he just not have boosters soon enough? I don't know. I don't know. But something about that was just completely gross. I mean, a great drag by Wildcard. And then both Drinko and Mundane Zebra just standing in front of the wall at full health was just completely bizarre. I don't know what that was. Anyway, if I do have to, you know, what are the arguments in favor of the Mal'Ganis? I think it's decent into the Samuro. I think it can peel the Samuro decently away from the backline. But also, if Samuro just stays away from the Mal'Ganis, Mal'Ganis can also never reach Samuro. So in light of that, I feel like it's kind of one of those things where it kind of sounds like bad Samuro might get countered by Mal'Ganis and good Samuro does not. Anyway, Wildcard looking pretty low here, being chased down by Asmochad. I think he gets out just fine, though. As Mundane Zebra, of course, going to take a little bit of time to get all the talents that he needs. I feel like the icon for this was changed, where now this is the yellow talent. I feel like it used to be the red talent. Am I right? Because I thought that, like, basically the standard build for Hammer was basically red at 1, 4, and 7. But advanced artillery is definitely the standard. So maybe it's just one of those things where the icon was changed in one of Blizzard's recent patches, doing so much to maintain the game, like changing talent icons for no real reason. Anyway, big push here by Rodney's Imaginary Friends. Rodney just barely getting out of there alive with about 30% of his health. Meanwhile, Goliath in a lot of trouble against the Samuro, but is able to just walk out of there. The Samuro definitely harassing a bit, but doesn't quite have the crowd control that he needs to... Oh, talking about crowd control. I believe that was Sparklark finding Rhaegar, played by Goliath there. I believe we got a wall stun, so that's where the crowd control comes in and not just the damage. Okay, and I think wildcard, wow, beautiful. Beautiful burrow by him, but he's still in trouble. Or is Sparklark in trouble? Sparklark is going to get slept. Does get woken immediately. I Just Fizzed is chasing after him, but he doesn't have any more CC. Gonna use it now. Actually uses his CC to get out. Wildcard. Oh no. Playing with fire right here. Both of these teams like playing with fire, and it's actually Rodney who goes down in the end. Not able to escape from the Fell Claws from Mal'Ganis. The Mal'Ganis doing well enough at the moment. It is something where I personally feel the more I look at the draft, it does feel kind of rough for the Mal'Ganis. I feel like how does he ever get to the hammer? And kind of the answer is that Mundane Zebra just like goes in or something. But Uther is really tough for him. Greymane potentially tough for him. I think we're actually not going to see a movement speed Greymane here. I think we're going to see like a hyper carry Greymane. He has Wizened Duelist, but doesn't have any stacks on it yet. I feel like we're going to see Unfettered Assault. Oh no, Mundane Zebra goes down to Yanners. I feel like we're going to see an Unfettered Assault Greymane at level 13 just because of this Wizened Duelist. It's not unreasonable that he actually does just go on the prowl for the move speed. The move speed, I think, is a lot stronger into the Mal'Ganis. But, you know, if he's getting a D-Shield from Drinko, I would say the Unfettered Assault is probably the higher potential value. Okay, camp going to be taken by Rodney here. Both teams really even on levels. Of course, this kind of happened in the last game where it was even at level 9 between both teams until eventually Rodney's imaginary friends really just kind of ran away with things. Sparklark, how did he get all the way over here? I'm just missing everything. I'm sure that a Junkrat concussion mine had something to do with it, but it still just seemed like incredibly far for him to be all the way on that side of the map. Anyway, Yanners is going to be targeted here. Also, taking a look at Yanners' build. Okay, so it does look like Yanners is actually going for the standard Genji build. Yanners is actually a Dragon Blade enjoyer, so sometimes he actually does choose to go for the Dragon Blade build, but in this case he will actually just go standard. Anyway, Mundane Zebra going to be taken down yet again. Does kind of seem to be a common theme that he is sometimes just being a little too aggressive and is paying for it. Hope that doesn't come back to, like, basically be a problem for the whole team. As Rodney does now have 6 stacks, now 7 on the Wizened Duelist. Finding those stacks, actually just shredding Wildcard, who is super low on health. Oh no, Drinko accidentally used the Divine Shield on himself. That Divine Shield was absolutely supposed to go on Rodney and not Drinko. Bit of a misclick there. But, you know, it does happen to the best of us. Anyway, speaking about the best of us, Samuro. I don't know what transition this is. Is Samuro even one of the best offlaners in the game? I think I do kind of rate him as like maybe like A tier or something. Definitely, of course, there was kind of the, you know, the big change where the Hearth trick was removed, and then I think a lot of people were disenchanted with him. I feel like he's still probably pretty good, but also I don't entirely know what I'm talking about here. And sadly for Asmachad, couldn't have Hearth tricked out of that situation, so he did go down. I'm not even sure if Hearth trick would have been applicable there even before it was removed. I'm just saying complete BS. Anyway, probably does mean that Rodney's imaginary friends does need to give up this seed. It's only 1-3, so they don't need to force it. Rodney, meanwhile, going to get knocked away. Oh, stun goes in onto the Genji. But Genji, with that Cyber Shield at level 4, rather level 7, is pretty resilient. So, level 10's online for both teams, and most things are looking as expected. Yeah, there's really nothing here that's too crazy. The only one... No, I'm not even going to say it, just... Anyway. Mundane Zebra goes down yet again. How many deaths is that for Mundane Zebra? It is 4 deaths. And this is definitely an interesting take on the hammer composition, where I feel like a lot of times the point of a hammer composition is to really play around the hammer, to babysit the hammer, to just like create this big wall around the hammer so that the other team just can't get to him. Whereas in this case, it kind of just seems like Mundane Zebra going on solo missions, finding whatever push he can, but often also paying for it when he overextends and gets rotated on. Yonner is apparently trying to steal the siege camp out from under the eyes of Rodney's imaginary friends, but doesn't get it. So kind of as I predicted, it is indeed the unfettered assault from the Greymane. So if he actually gets the Divine Shield, this is better than the move speed, because the Divine Shield provides its own move speed, and it just allows Greymane to do as much damage as he can while he has that Divine Shield. Also means that the focus more is on Greymane actually diving and kind of just like shredding people regardless of what target is, instead of just kind of kiting the Mal'Ganis. Anyway, Mundane Zebra here. He's got to start being careful. He's a little bit more careful right now, but his team is pushing. Okay. Sparklark finds Yonners, but doesn't quite get the stun. Doesn't have the angle for it. It's a 3v4 up here. Curse Bullet goes out. So does the Divine Shield, and Rodney's going to try to make the kill happen onto Rhaegar, and he does indeed find it. Getting all that huge amount of damage before the Ancestral is allowed to go off. So it's 2-3. 2-3 in seeds. Rodney's imaginary friends with the kill onto the Rhaegar. So do they have the time, though? It's going to take them a little bit of time to rotate there, and Yonners might slow down some of the rotations. I just fizzed, and Yonners actually looking to see if they can do something about this. So Rodney... I think Rodney, it's a bit tough. Okay, does manage to stay away from the sleep, but my God, does he really get out? He does get out. So some great mechanics by Rodney, and with all that chase, not that Durotan's couch really could have contested that anyway, because Goliath was dead. That is going to be seed point for Rodney's imaginary friends. They will now push. They've already gotten 2 of the forts down. They'll find themselves a 3rd, and what other additional value can they find? Meanwhile, Rodney now in a little bit of trouble. Just barely gets out alive. Some beautiful play and mechanics by Rodney, getting out of there with like 1 hit point. I was checking the cooldowns. There was no D-Shield available for him, so he really did just have to rely on his mechanics to make sure he got out of there alive. So, and this is of course pretty oppressive, just Sergeant Hammer outranging your structures and just pushing down the lane. So yeah, this unfettered assault for Greymane, this is a fun talent for Greymane. It can sometimes be hard to get value out of, and you do need to have good mechanics. In this case, we also have a support structure for it in the form of the Uther, granting a Divine Shield, having a cleanse, granting burst heals. But what this kind of does, it kind of turns Greymane into Orphea. Basically, every 2 autos that he hits in Worgen form will reset the cooldown of Razor Swipe. And then Razor Swipe is also given increased range, so it serves as mobility as well as increased damage. He gets those 2 hits, and while targets are trying to get away from him, he's able to Razor Swipe back in to stay in range and get another 2 hits. Tongue is going to be found onto Wildcard, but then Wildcard is just like instantly blown up. Mundane Zebra, meanwhile, in a lot of trouble. Ooh, Tire does not... I thought that Tire was going to go all the way from Mundane Zebra, and now the D-Shield has to be used on Mundane Zebra. Means it's not available for Rodney, but it doesn't matter, as 2 kills have been found by Rodney's imaginary friends. Sparklark goes in. Doesn't have a lot of health to work with. I think he might go down here. Yeah, might be getting a little greedy there. Both the members... Oh, no. Members of Rodney's not having a lot of health. I think Drinko has to be content to just let Rodney and Mundane Zebra get out. But it's also a question if Mundane Zebra does get out. I think Idioms there was preparing to chase yet again even further. Yeah, it does have that Ripper Air for the increased range. I think he was looking to kill Rodney, but was a little concerned about basically using Concussion Mine and booping himself into the enemy towers. Anyway, Sparklark going to get instantly tongued. Wildcard has barely any hit points left. Doesn't have much essence either, it seems. Throws out the Contagion, or rather the Isolation, and this is actually going to be as much ad going down. Did not expect that. All right, time for Durotan's Couch to answer back. They actually are in the lead in terms of kills, but trailing in structures. Does feel like that Rodney's Imaginary Friends has kind of been, you know, just been, I don't even know what the words are. Kind of just feels like they've been in more control and have been playing a little bit better. Rodney playing with fire here. And now, of course, Rodney really does not want to die. He's definitely had a couple close calls, but he does not want to die because of that Wizened Duelist. He will lose half of these stacks if he does die. Still does a lot of damage anyway, but the amount of damage he does with the Wizened Duelist is pretty obscene, as we are going to see level 20s picked up by the members of Rodney's Imaginary Friends. So Redemption from Uther. I think basically for Uther, it basically came down to either Redemption or the Divine Shield upgrade. What is it called? Like Bulwark? Bulwark of Light, I think it is. Not going to see the Bulwark of Light. The Bulwark of Light granting extra time on the Divine Shield, also allowing it to be cast on multiple people. Instead, we're going to see the Redemption. And I think this kind of makes it so that Uther is content to die in a late-game team fight, because it'll just provide some heals and then be back up and still be there for the fight. Meanwhile, Sparklark is completely caught, completely isolated. Divine Shield has to go on him. Is it enough, though? He's still by himself. He gets hit by the ISO. Ooh, the ISO ending up actually not being worth it, though, as he does just get out. Okay. Oh, no. Rodney uses those Raymain mechanics, dark flighting in to actually use it as an escape, and Mundane Zebra just gets out of there. Bit of a surprise. Importantly, no Divine Shield here because it was forced on Sparklark. But the huge Lightning Breath does do a bunch of damage. Members of Durotan's Couch are super low. I Just Fizz goes down along with Goliath. Can they also get Wildcard? I think they can. And with that, 3 members are dead. I don't think Rodney's Imaginary Friends ends here. They are super low. They're going to find the kill, but that is going to be also the kill onto Rodney. You know, just kind of one of the issues of running Uther. He is great at saving, but he is not good at healing the team back up when the entire team is low. So it is still 4 versus 1, and it's only Yanners to defend. Mundane Zebra wants the keep anyway. Yeah, I mean, the death timers are actually incredibly long here. Eventually, Sparklark gets enough health, and eventually, although they don't have Greymane, Mundane Zebra is... Okay, you know, I didn't want to say it, but Mundane Zebra is kind of trolling his team. Like, this... Well, like, what is this? I'm actually wondering if Mundane Zebra somehow clowns this for his team. Like, Asmochad and Drinko are trying to make things happen. Drinko and Sparklark are kind of coming close to dying. I think in spite of what Mundane Zebra is doing, it's still enough for Rodney's Imaginary Friends, and they pick up their first win of the season in a domination. Congratulations to them for this 2-0. So, this is obviously pretty big for Rodney's Imaginary Friends, finally getting their first win of the season. With any luck, they'll get a couple more. We'll take a look at our builds, just so you can kind of, you know, see what people pick. Apex Predator, now that is definitely one that I haven't seen in a minute. Apex Predator was definitely pretty common back during HGC time. Ever since, at some point, Contagion definitely overtook it, and I think it probably had something to do with the talent being nerfed at some point. It still looks kind of ridiculously strong. Reduces the cooldown by 50 seconds. That's pretty short. You move around a lot with Apex Predator, but it does deny you kind of the team fight winning ult of Contagion. Tooth and Claw. So kind of the... I was going to say the full hyper carry build. Typically, I think of getting Alpha Wolf at 16 for the hyper carry build, but Rodney played very, very well on this hero. Loved the way it looked. He had great mechanics, which if you're going to play this style of gaming, you need good mechanics. And specifically, not just good mechanics generally, but good mechanics with this build in particular. So that is the 2-0 for Rodney's Imaginary Friends. Gonna throw it to a break real quick, and we'll see if we can get an interview. All right, what's up, guys? We're back here. We've got not one, but two members of Rodney's Imaginary Friends. We've got Drinko and we've got Sparklark. How you guys feeling after that win?
Hello. Feeling pretty decent right now.
We won a match.
I know.
I'm not sure if that would occur this season.
You know, of course, you know, that's kind of one of the things to ask. You've obviously been having a bit of a tough season so far. You know, kind of what was it like going into this match, and how's your season been so far from your perspective?
Our season's been getting better as we go. We did do some rough patches there, but our past couple matches, I think we've been feeling just better about how we're playing. This one finally got some results from that.
Very nice, very nice.
But as far as going into this game, we were having to wake up a Zebra.
Zebra tried his very best to have us lose another match.
I was gonna like ask that at some point. Like, there were.
The wire.
I do want to say there. Like, if I had to like throw out a random number, I would say there were about 6 times where I kind of wanted to say something to the effect of Zebra's inting or Zebra's trolling, but I'm trying to be super nice as a caster. The problem is when it came down to the end of game number 2, it was 100% clear that he was trying to troll you guys and possibly clown you guys out of your victory. Tell me a little bit about that.
I mean, every match was the Monday. It's 5v5 for a while, and then it's 5v4v1, and that's the nature of the game. You know, he keeps you on your toes.
He definitely does. And, what he was doing in the mid game for game 2 there was working out, because we were still trading well on structures and stuff.
Okay.
We were getting out of it.
Yeah.
But the end of the game was a little much.
Yeah, that one was pretty clear. Like there was one time, I think the first big time was in Towers of Doom, where he was at like 10% hit points, and he just walked into 3 people toward the tower and died. The problem with that one is that somehow that worked out for you. He did that, and then your team got 3 altars. Was that just calculated?
I should say yes, but
yeah, everything's 100% calculated. I mean, Rodney was kind of running it on Genji on the first map, and I think Zebra took that as a personal. No one gets to int more than so that sort of set off a chain reaction.
Oh my god. Oh, this interview is a lot more fun than I even expected it to be. You know, I actually want you to just tell me a little bit about your team, and either person, just tell me a little bit about kind of what's this team about, what is it like, who's assertive, who leads, who ints, who, I don't know, who's the serious gamer.
Yes, int constantly.
Nice, true.
But no, for the most part with calls and stuff, it's not like one person taking the reins, so to say. We kind of collectively make calls, but we do, like, people will say stuff and then we agree on it.
Okay, nice.
Sam goes with drafting for the most part.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Normally we tend to fight a lot, but we've been actively trying to work on our macro, and I think it's been paying off.
Nice, nice. Now I have a question here, and I hate to leave you out, Drinko, but I kind of have a personal question for Spark. You know, Spark you are one of my favorite former teammates. And I've kind of watched your journey, literally going from Div D to B to A to Nexus and now to Heroic. You know, I think there are a lot of people who say they want to improve at the game, but I feel like you're someone who genuinely wants to. And I think that's just kind of reflected in your journey. Can you just tell us, you know, what kind of drives you as a player, and what is it like going through that journey from D all the way to Heroic?
Oh man, that's really sweet. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
You know, really enjoyed playing with you in the past. You know, I think it's just you have to enjoy getting your butt kicked a lot. You know, that's pretty much been the journey that you play better players who are better than you, and kind of tossed around, but you've watched a lot. I don't know. It's been really really fun. And you know, it's been Heroic's kind of a little bit of a Frankenstein. At the end of the day, it's pretty sweet to be playing.
All right. Nice. Good to hear it. And, you know, obviously it's been a rough season so far, but kind of like, you know, how do you expect things to go for the rest of this season? You know, what wins do you think you can pick up? Do you think you can squeeze into playoffs?
I honestly have not looked at the schedule that in depth.
All right.
I expect us to start doing better, yes. I don't actively know the math working out for getting into playoffs, though.
All right, fair enough. Kind of just keeping it like, you know, deal with the challenge that's right in front of you instead of getting ahead of yourself. I do know that you do have eventually heavy hitters. I believe you have not played them. No, there's no way you played them, because before this series you both didn't have a win. So if you two had played, one of you would have had a win. So you do have that coming up. Yeah, other than that, I guess I'm just about out of things to say, so we'll throw it to shoutouts. What shoutouts you guys got?
Not much myself, but shoutouts to the team for showing up and waking up. Shoutouts to you for casting. Shoutouts to the other team as well. Durotan's couch is really just fun to play with.
Yeah, good to ditto that. Shout out to Couch, long-standing team, really nice people. Went through the scrim a bunch against them. Shout out to you, Andrew. Really appreciate the cast. Shout out team, and first and foremost, always in our hearts, the mundane Zebra.
Of course. Oh, he's a legend. All right, thank you guys so much, and again, congratulations on your first one of the season. I wish you many more. Have a good night.
Thanks for the cast, man. Take care.
All right, boys and girls, that is it for tonight. No doubleheader. I don't know if it's possible. Don't know if there. I'm not going to. I've done doubleheaders in the past, but I think for today I'm good with one match. Sadly, it was not a 3-game series. Was hoping that, you know, these teams that were pretty close to each other in the standings could have had a 3-game series. I think the potential was there, but Rodney's imaginary friends, they wanted it. They wanted that win, and they got it. So good for them. Hope you guys enjoyed it tonight. Have a good night. Play some ARAM because it's good for the soul. And we'll see if we can raid you over to someone, but for now, I'll see you soon. Switched over to the Blaze. A little bit of a switcheroo in draft. Bankai on the Diablo, Cubico on the Mephisto, and Mischief will be on the Stukov. And our first kill of this series. Not just the first kill, not just the first game. It's the very first kill of the Coastal Finals of NGS Season 16. Now, unlike the last time, I do not feel at all that there is any world in which Gilly Shark and Bingo Knight play this, but maybe they are. They're going to look for it. They don't have a real damage dealer. They're just going to... Oh, did they have Clone? They don't even have Clone! Oh my god, so this is just straight up going in 3v4, trying to make things happen. Are they really worried that they just lose the game if they don't take this fight and the boss pushes to core? I don't know. But the bunker's getting huge amounts of value, except for the fact that Isaac and Calaboth are so low.
And oh no, we have Johanna again, once again, turning this into the blinding of Isaac. And somehow, Gilly Shark and Bingo Knight win a 3v4. What is going on? Okay, oh my god! Tazik trying to go in to help. There's this layered CC, and there's the big damage from that cleave from the Zeratul. After that layered CC from the Blessed Shield and the Dragon Arrow, oh my god, they're gonna make it 4 with that beautiful root by Sergeant Scoops. Man, Leanheart and Life DG just right next to each other, just sniffing each other out here. Leanheart smells it, and he knows that Life DG is here, or maybe he didn't, but now he does. He just checked. There's the taunt. No Curse Bullet yet, but either way, Life DG's life is getting hard, or maybe someone else's life is getting even harder, is Willow, because that will be the first kill of the game, going on to Greymane there. Anyway, Marbuckle Shades in, does drop the Warden's Cage. We're going to see it followed up by Endurance of Hate. And here comes all the damage from those fans of knives. Fan of knives, fans of knives, fan of knives. I can't tell which one, but either way, not a single death on the side of Seb. And 3 members go down for Gambit Gaming. Can they make it 4? It is going to be 4. My god, what an engage there. That's going to be the cocoon, not the cocaine. That's something else entirely. Johanna still in the cocoon. By the time she finally gets out, she throws the Blessed Shield, but Rhaegar is already dead, and Blaze follows soon after. This Bruiser Cam actually looks like it's going to be